Welcome back to an episode of the Prominent Project Podcast, a place to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of you. Today, it's just me, myself, and I on my Thursday thoughts. I've already recorded this, and then it turned out that my audio didn't work. So this is what happens when it's just me by myself on these Thursday thoughts. I don't have Mikey behind the camera. It's just me and the camera that I use to record some stuff. So again, that's why the production isn't as good as always. I say production, the audio is absolutely smashing, but I mean the video, that is why, because I don't have Mikey behind the scenes on these. But again, just a quick one. That's what this is for. These Thursday thoughts. It's all about me just trying to give you what's on my mind this week, which is why I want to make it a bit more, personal about myself and my life and some stuff I'm going through. And one of the key things that popped out to me this week is about the self-improvement work and how there's so many people that are trying to improve themselves now. It seems like everyone on social media is trying to improve themselves and again do this stuff, and that's great. But for most people, it won't work. And I don't want that to be you. If you're listening to this podcast, then you're clearly interested in self-improvement, self-development, like mentally becoming that best version of yourself. And that to me means a lot that you're actually listening to me. There's loads of other podcasts out there you're listening to me. So I just want to make sure that as you're going through this journey, because I'm sure there's other influences that you have, whether it's on social media, whether it's other podcasts, but I want to make sure that you are actually getting out of this self-improvement journey what you actually need to. So I just wanted to I've just jotted some notes down here about why it won't necessarily work for you. And what I mean by that is I want to sort of pose a question about if it's not working, is any of these reasons resonate with you? So the first one is you're doing it for somebody else. So have you gone on this self-improvement journey because someone else told you to, or that someone else suggested it was a good idea for you? Because self-improvement in the name, improvement of self-improvement, you become that better version of you. So you are in your current state right now and you are dissatisfied, which we're going to talk about in a second, and you want to move to a future self and future state that is better. Now, for me, it's also approaching this from a place of love and compassion. Like, you want to be starting this journey from a place of love and compassion, knowing that you are enough. Right now, like, your actions and your situations might not reflect that, but you as a human being are enough. And I think a lot of people can get into this self-improvement thing from a place of complete hatred and loathing towards themselves. And if you're coming from that place of hatred and trying to, I hate myself, I need to get better, and you're forcing it and it's from aggression, it's not from a place of love, that makes it 10 times harder. Because then just think about this. If you've got a friend, well, I say friend, they wouldn't really be a friend, but someone that you absolutely hate, would you want to help them improve? No, of course you wouldn't. Like, again, it's going to be resistance, it's going to be awkward, it's going to be uncomfortable. Whereas if you and your best friend, the person that you love more than anything, asked for help, you would happily help and you go above and beyond because you're coming from a place of love. Love is the key emotion here. And if you're doing it for other people, it could then seem that you're not worthy, that you're less than, that this person thinks that you're not good enough how you are. And that's not the case. So there shouldn't really be any external influence on you on this journey that you're going on. So if you are struggling to see improvement in your life, just ask yourself, are you actually doing it for somebody else? Do you actually want to improve? And that ties in nicely to my second point, which is maybe you think everyone else is the problem, whether that's on a conscious level or a subconscious level. If you genuinely think that some of this stuff that you're learning doesn't apply to you, and that everyone else is the problem, and you're not taking any responsibility for where you're at right now, yeah, my life's like this because this happened, or because this person did this, or whatever it is, and you're taking zero responsibility, because that all may be true, and it may be completely someone else's issue and situation, but it's your responsibility for you to actually then make the improvements in your life so that you aren't stuck in that negativity. It may not have been your fault, but it's your responsibility to actually get yourself out. No one's coming to save you. You have to do the work. But it's understanding that if everyone else is the problem, then they can't be the problem. Let me say that again. If everyone else is the problem, they can't be the problem. It has to be you. You are that common denominator. So just ask yourself, are you still playing that blame game? We have a lot of guests come on. They talk a lot about this, taking responsibility. And there's a common theme with the guests, and there's a reason why. The third point, you never actually practically apply what you learn. It's like learning a new language. You can get all the theory you want. You can sit there in your comfy room and everything's nice and it's amazing, it's comfortable, and you just take your time. You learn this amazing language. But if you never go to that country and practice it practically, making mistakes, getting all clunky with it, and learning as you go, it means nothing. So are you one of these success zombies or junkies, or whatever you want to say, that's just constantly just learning, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're learning, thinking that oh no, but I need this next piece, I need this, that's also going to lead to failure. When you're learning and you're listening and something resonates with you apply it to your life. And if you're not sure how, ask somebody. Google it. If you've heard it, if you've read it, again, especially if it's in books, there'll be more context behind it. But this is when especially if you're reading books, don't read for the sake of reading. Read to learn, read to grow, read to understand. Like sometimes I'll be reading, I could sit on a page for maybe 5 minutes and I'll just sit and ponder. There's something that will really resonate with me and I'll just stop and I'll sit and think about what I've just actually read and how it applies to my life. But are you doing that? Are you actually practically applying what you learn? Or does it just sound really, really good, but when it comes to it, you just go back to what you were normally doing? There's got to be a time when you take this knowledge and apply it into your real life. And you're going to fail. It's going to be clunky. It's going to be uncomfortable. But remember what I said, pain plus reflection equals progress. It's impossible to fail if you're actually going and actually starting doing something. If you really want to improve, you have to take that next step, because failure is the only thing that will move you to the next level, because it allows you to actually stop and self-assess. And that's what you need, is that self-assessment that will then take you on to the next thing. So another thing could be that you're buying into this craze, because it kind of is a bit of a craze, like this self-improvement. As I said, everyone seems to be on this bandwagon at the minute, which is fantastic. But if it's not from the right place, it's not fantastic. And it can actually become worse and more detrimental, because it makes you feel less than and inferior, and you can't even improve yourself. So what failure that you actually are. But are you actually wanting to become a better version of yourself, or are you just jumping on a bandwagon because everyone else is doing it around you? So everyone in your office is doing it, your family's doing it, they're all bettering themselves, and you feel like you need to do it or you'll be left behind. Because that's not a good place to come from again. Doing something because everyone else is doing it, that is not going to get you the results. It goes back to what we said about the start. Self-improvement, you're doing it for yourself. You've got to want to do it. You've got to want to actually improve, because the process is hard. To actually improve yourself and step out of your comfort zone is hard. It's not an easy thing. Because as we said, we all know people that go on this journey and they talk all the good stuff. But when you see them, they're still the same person, which means they're not really unpicking those root causes. If there's things where you keep getting stuck in your life when it comes to money, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to work, when it comes to anything like that, if it's the same patterns that keep coming up and up and up, it's your paradigms. Your paradigms are your habits and your beliefs. You maybe have some deep-rooted self-limiting beliefs that are in there, or some really rotten habits that keep showing up time and time again. And you've got to face them. But you're not going to want to do it, again, if you're doing it because somebody else has told you to do it, or you think you need to because of peer pressure. My final quick point here is the unrealistic expectations. The unrealistic expectations, understanding the fact that if you're, again, I'm 33, so up until 28 years old, I had done none of this stuff. I was one of these people here. All this stuff they said, why self-improvement won't work for you, that was me. This was me to a T. So this is what I'm saying, this is personal experience. Again, I was doing it for somebody else. An ex-girlfriend or a girlfriend at the time gave me a self-improvement book, The Art of Being Brilliant. So again, straight away, that's telling me the art of being brilliant. So that inferred to me that I wasn't brilliant. So that sent me off on a journey straight away. I never took any responsibility for anything. I always was blaming. I used to blame everyone for my situation. Even when I was depressed, I'd blame everyone. It was only maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, a really bad traumatic situation in my life. I actually was speaking to Mikey about it. And as I told the story, I said, wow, I don't even think that's how that happened. I think I've created this story to back this narrative of me being the victim, when actually I played a part in this. So again, this up until a few years ago, I was doing some of this stuff here. I wasn't applying what I'd learned. I've got so many books I've had to reread because I've quote unquote read them, and I can say to people, oh, I've read all these books, but I never applied anything. I was like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. I had all this knowledge just sat there, but I was doing nothing about it. There's a difference between knowing something and doing something. That's two completely different parts of your mindset. So again, that's a big thing for me. I had all this knowledge, but wasn't doing anything about it. And again, there's a big craze with it. So a few people around me were doing it. They're improving themselves. So I wanted to jump on board. So I'm saying all this stuff because that was me. This was me. I've made these mistakes. I probably should have said at the very, very start that this was me to a T. And it's only really now where I've done the opposite of these things, actually doing it for the right reasons, taking responsibility, wanting to improve, doing it for myself. And here's the key thing, setting realistic expectations. For 33 years of my life, I've been living a certain way. It's completely unrealistic for me to think that reading a book, listening to a few podcasts, or whatever it is going to change my life and my habits that are so deep-rooted in the space of a couple of weeks, months, or even a year. Let me say again, even a year. To really, really, really get a new groove that you're going into. Just see it as like the analogy is like a field. So you're walking through a field and there's that path that you've walked for 33 years. You're trying to make a new path. That new path, you can't just walk down it every couple of days. You've got to walk down it consistently. And every now and again, it's going to get hard and you're going to go back to your old path because it's really easy and comfortable and well worn. Then you've got to pick yourself up again, dust yourself up and put yourself back on the right path again. It takes time. And I feel like there's such an unrealistic expectation here with this self-improvement, especially when money gets involved and people saying, oh, do this and you can be a millionaire, whatever it is. People putting all these unrealistic expectations and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Self-improvement is about you becoming a better version of yourself. And here's the thing. It's a never-ending journey. Every single morning when I'm writing out my journal for myself, one of the things I say to myself is, I am a student of life and I will never stop learning, because I understand this journey of self-improvement never, ever finishes. You're never, ever, ever going to be perfect because there's no such thing. And for me, I think that's part of it. It's like when you think that, I'm fine now, I'm fine. No. There's areas you can work on, but it's a case of, do you want to? But from a place of love, wanting to be that best version for yourself, having that the standards for yourself. I've got standards for myself where I want to be able to look back at my life when I'm 70, 80, 90 years old and just know that I lived life to the fullest, being the best version of me that I possibly can. Knowing that when I made mistakes, I was doing it from a place of love, I was doing it from a place with good intentions. And every single time I'll just be able to look back and realize, wow, that horrific thing happened, but look at the amazing trajectory that sent me on. And that's the journey I want for you guys. I don't know your story personally. I know a lot of people in this world right now are struggling. But actually, this self-improvement journey that you're going on, understand it is not an easy ride, but is the most rewarding thing ever. Every single time when I'm journaling and figuring myself out, I learn something new about myself. Every single time I snap or I act a certain way that isn't in line with who I want to be, I learn something, and I absolutely love that. You should be your own best friend. You should want to have the best for you, but understand that some of these things and the reasons why you're doing it, if they are unhealthy, it will hold you back and it may cause a bit of resentment and it may cause you to force it. You don't want to force this journey. It wants to be effortless. It wants to be fun and you want to actually enjoy doing it. That's everything I've got for you guys today. As always, if you take any value from these short Thursday thoughts, don't forget to like and share it with a friend. We've got some amazing guests lined up. I believe that next week's guest is a guy called Rob Hoskins, former police officer, talking about men's mental health, and he's absolutely fantastic. I had a great time chatting with him. And then we've got another few good guests coming up as well. We've got another one called Jill Wright, who I recorded with earlier on this week, talking about postnatal depression in mums and how you can move through that and re-find yourself again. As always, I absolutely love you guys. You are absolutely awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy.